Hey guys, welcome to today's reading. We're going to be tuning into why your guides are proud of you. And today we have a beautiful selection of Macaron for you guys to choose from. By the way, if you like how I read tarot, then you should check out my Patreon where I post all my additional readings. I just posted a reading about when and how it's going to happen for you. So if there's a manifestation, a goal, a dream, anything you've wanted to happen for yourself, or maybe even you've been dreading happening, and you want to get details about the timeline for that and what it's going to look like, then that's a great reading to watch. It's super long and detailed, over 3 hours long. And as soon as you sign up for my Patreon, you'll get access to over 65 additional readings. There's readings about love, relationships, money, career, spirituality, where you should live, readings about family, friends, every topic under the sun. So if you want to check that out, go to the links underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description. And I would love to see you there over on Patreon. New readings go up all the time. So with that being said, if you are new to this channel, welcome. And basically you're going to see which of these macarons is sticking out to you, calling your name and your attention. And then you can make up your mind and scroll down to the timestamps in the comments and the description and jump into your pile. Pile number 1 is going to be that pink macaron. Pile number 2 is the vanilla white cream colored one. And pile 3 is the green macaron. So that's how you can make up your mind. Just see which of these colors is calling out to you, drawing your attention, and then, like I said, jump down to the timestamps and jump into your reading. I also want to mention that I have a website where you can book a private reading with me if you would like one. So you can sign up for a tarot reading, an astrology reading, or just a channeling reading. And you can basically ask me whatever questions you would like during your time. So you can get a half-hour long reading or a full hour long reading. And like I said, you get to use that time how you see fit, asking about whatever questions you would like within reason, of course. So if you want to sign up to get a reading with me, go to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So I think that's all I have to say today, guys. Thanks so much for watching as always. Now, if you need more time to decide, you can totally feel free to pause this video, rewind, do whatever you have to do, but we're going to go ahead and jump into pile 1. Hey, pile 1, so if you picked this strawberry macaron, this is going to be your reading. Hopefully the camera focuses well on this, but it looks really, really delicious. Anyways, guys, let's get into your tarot. You guys got come together, listening, and education. So I feel like a lot of you guys have been recently doing work on relationships. So maybe you have been pushing yourself to date more, to put yourself out there more, or just even doing some work unpacking relationship trauma you have. Maybe you've been in your mind going over old relationships or family dynamics or friendship dynamics or things that didn't work out. But I feel like a lot of you guys have really been pushing yourself to grow in this sector of how you manage relationships with others. Maybe some of you guys are in romantic relationships and you do a lot of work to manage them, to be patient with your partner, to understand their perspective. But either way, whether you're single or in a relationship, I feel like your guides are so happy with the fact that you have been willing to put a lot of work into this sector of your life. Feels like you guys are not running from the hard work or from the lessons or from the difficulty, but it feels like instead a lot of you are really embracing this. And it's almost like you are willing to look at your traumas, you're willing to do the shadow work. And I feel like now more than ever, you've kind of stopped running away from it and like taken a really hard look at why you are the way you are, or fears or traumas, or, you know, all those things that go into relationship work. You are willing to do those things. And I feel like your guides are super happy. Maybe you're pushing yourself to understand yourself more. I could even see someone like doing a bunch of personality tests or learning about human design or learning about their astrology so that they can manage that a little bit more and be like, oh, like I'm a Venus in Sag, so maybe I tend to get bored in relationships. Let me try to be more patient. Or I'm a Venus Virgo, and maybe sometimes I can be overly critical. Let me try to give this person a little more grace. But I feel like either way, there's this vibe of you guys really buckling down, doing the work, and being super patient. And I do feel like a lot of this is going to pay off later for you. Like it's almost like you're doing the work now, and then later on, whether it's months from now, years from now, it's it's going to really have a payoff. And I also feel like you are being very honest with yourself about what you truly want from life. So it feels like within the past few years, maybe you guys have gone through a kind of like reality check era. Like maybe in the past you had rose-colored glasses, or you would be super optimistic and just look on the bright side and be like, oh, things will work out, whatever. And now you're kind of being a little bit harsher with yourself and being a little bit more like, no, I really need to figure this out, or no, I really need to get better at my, like I said, relationship skills, or my taxes, or whatever area of life, my career. I feel like in the past you kind of gave yourself a pass for things and you didn't really want to look super harshly at the things you did. And now I feel like you have been through this period where you are looking at absolutely everything. You are putting things out into the light. You are doing a lot of work. Maybe some of you guys have been in therapy. And I feel like the person you're going to be in a year's time is totally more mature and a lot wiser than the person you have been in the past. And by like major proportions, it's almost like you guys are growing up and becoming a older version of yourself. You know, it's kind of reminding me of like someone who just went through a Saturn return or something and did a lot of growing up. And I feel like a lot of this is like your guides are just wanting you to know, like they see the hard work. They know how painful unpacking some of this stuff has been. And they do want you to know that it is going to pay off for you in the end. And they have seen you being sad about it. They have seen you unpacking stuff from childhood and maybe crying about it, or thinking over past friendships and being like, wow, yeah, that I didn't handle that right, or that person didn't treat me right, and really taking the time to process. And I feel like they are so happy that you're dealing with your emotions instead of running from them. They're so pleased about that. And they couldn't be more proud for the fact that you have been really pushing yourself, because it hasn't been pleasant. It hasn't been sunshine and roses. You know, shadow work is not that stage of spiritual work where it's just fun and it's like a yoga retreat in Bali and it's just a grand old time. Shadow work can be really difficult and fraught, and you can cry and you can have all this random anger from the past come up, but it's so valuable to kind of unpack those things, learn where they're coming from, learn what our triggers and traumas are. And I feel like a lot of you guys have been truly willing to embrace this and do the work, and your guides are so proud. Like I feel like you guys are truly leveling up and doing that kind of unglamorous part of spiritual work that really makes the biggest difference. So the sky is kind of the limit for you in a couple years time with where you could be in terms of your spiritual development. You might have a totally different financial situation, relationship situation. If you're one of those people, what I'm hearing is if someone, and I'm sure there are people watching this reading who are like, oh, well, I've never been in a relationship, you know, and if that's you, you might surprise yourself that in a year or two's time, if you keep up with this work, that you are like settled down with one partner, if that's what you want. Of course, not everyone wants that life. But if that's something that you realize like, no, I actually do want that kind of person to come home to, then you might be in shock that if you keep up with this work at the rate you're going, you're doing so much difficult work, admitting really hard truths to yourself. And I feel like the maturity you're accumulating is going to really help you manage those relationships in the future. So if you've been feeling lonely or alone, or like you can't manage relationships, trust me, this energy is not going to remain forever. And the same could be said for if you've had a really bad tax situation, or you haven't had a really great career. I feel like however this is in your life, there's this energy of maturity, and there's this energy of willing to take a really hard look at things and be honest with yourself. And that is going to really pay off in spades. Let me get into some tarot. So we got the Five of Wands, the Four of Pentacles, the Nine of Swords, and the Two of Pentacles. So I love that we have the Four of Pentacles and the Two Pentacles as the foundation to this reading, because those are foundational cards, and they're really about making hard, logical choices, really thinking things through with long-term potential, because that's what the Pentacles are all about, is like that long-term thinking. It's not a rushed energy. It's not a short-term type of energy. It has a lot of longevity. And I feel like a lot of you guys lately have been thinking a lot about your future and about what you want. And in the past, maybe you would be kind of flippant about it. Like, oh, I'll figure it out later. Or, well, whatever happens, happens. Or like, yeah, I'm kind of like spending all my paycheck now, but like, I'll figure it out. And now it feels like lately you've been kind of making those sacrifices, thinking about things long term, and it may have even conjured up some really negative emotions. Maybe you have been thinking like, oh my gosh, I should have fixed this earlier and I can't believe I didn't. Or, oh my gosh, I'm kind of behind in this area of life. Or, I need to be better at this. And those feelings can be so unpleasant. The feeling that we missed out on timing, or that we're running behind, or that we're running late, or the feeling that we should have done things way different is a super tough pill to swallow. But I feel like you guys are, for the first time, really stepping fully into like adulthood. Like it feels like you're making those long-term choices that's going to benefit you so much. And this kind of appraisal that you're doing of your life, it also feels like this was a long time coming. Like it's almost like you could have, yeah, the truth is you probably could have started being a little harsher on yourself even a few years ago, like it wouldn't have been a bad thing if you had had this attitude a couple of years ago. But I feel like for a long time you were running and you were kind of incapable of handling the harshness of it. And I'm not surprised. We can see the Nine of Swords came out, and the Nine of Swords is an energy that talks about being up late at night, worrying, being stressed out, feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, feeling like everything is going wrong and you don't have a future. And I think sometimes when we start doing those hard appraisals of our life, maybe we don't have the relationship we want, or maybe we're in one relationship, but we realize we're miserable, or we're totally single, no prospects, or we're not in the place in our career, or we're not in the money situation. That can feel really depressing, really draining. It can feel really dark. And so a lot of times people will avoid admitting it and just go into like cope or delusion mode and just be like, no, it's fine. No, I love being single, even if you do want a relationship. Or no, it's fine. I don't want to be single. I love my boyfriend. Yeah, he's kind of like really mean to me and doesn't really make my life better in any way, and kind of is like this huge drain on me. But no, I'm happy. No, I like this. I like relationships and I'm good. Whatever side of the coin you're on, it's that dishonesty. It's that feeling of like, I'm not going to tell myself the truth about what's happening. I'm just going to glaze over it and pretend that I'm good and just stop myself from even thinking about this situation deeply and just go into like cope, everything's fine type mode. So we're kind of trying to avoid this Nine of Swords moment where we kind of realize like, oh, I got myself into a really bad situation. But I feel like that's the thing, is you have been so brave. You have been willing to confront these feelings. You've been willing to take a look at them, and you've been really willing to face them head on. And I think your guides are just so proud, so happy, because I'm hearing that in the past you would have run from them. You would have numbed yourself. Maybe even some of you guys, not everyone, but there may be some people in this pile that like would have substance issues, or, even if it wasn't a full-blown substance issue. Maybe it was like drinking a little too much, or when you're stressed out, going out with friends instead of sitting with the emotion, being like, hey, Sarah, let's go out drinking tonight. Come on, let's get margs. And not actually sitting down and processing, taking the time. We can distract ourselves with literally anything. We could distract ourselves by drinking too much, or eating too much, or exercising too much, or shopping. But it's about that feeling of distraction. It's about that feeling of like, I feel so powerless in this situation that I'm not even going to look at it. I'm not even going to like peel open any of the layers of this orange. I'm not even going to open this door, even a crack. I'm just going to keep slamming it shut. It's kind of reminding me of like Hoarding Buried Alive. And I think that's why I love that show, is because that's kind of what a lot of them have done. Like people will say, oh my God, I'm shocked because, Sarah had such a beautiful persona, and she would dress so well, and she would go out in public and she seemed so respectable, and I can't believe her house was like that. And Sarah would say, every time, yeah, I knew it was getting bad, but I just didn't want to deal with it. I just started spiraling out of control, and I just got more and more anxiety about having to like actually clean out the house. The more stuff accumulated, so I just kept doing it. And I feel like it's an extreme physical manifestation of that same energy so many of us go into, of like, I'm just gonna cover my ears. And keep in mind Virgo, which deals with physical cleanliness, so they're kind of in anti-Virgo mode, right? Is on that same axis with Pisces, which deals with spiritual cleanliness. So I think it's that same part of our mind. People say Pisces are delusional, and there may be that tendency for Pisces to do that, to avoid dealing with like the mess, even though it's in the spiritual realm, not necessarily the physical realm, you know? And so I think for you guys, it's like there's this powerful moment that happened for you where you were like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not running from this anymore. I have to deal with this. And I don't want to run from it anymore. I want to fix this. And it's reminding me, I just saw the image they showed me of the end of those shows like Hoarding Buried Alive, when they take the team and they've cleaned out everything. And then they show them like, this is your house, and it's beautiful. And a lot of times maybe they had like gorgeous little, tiles in the kitchen with like little designs on them, and it was completely covered by a pile of trash. And it's so cool to see it out in the open and be like, oh my God, this is such a pretty kitchen, or what a beautiful living room. And I love the color of the couch that I couldn't even see before because it was covered in clothes and random stuff. And now I can see that it's this beautiful shade of green. And just knowing that even the craziest of those hoarding houses that are just filled from floor to ceiling with trash can be cleaned out and made looking brand new. And we can do that too with our life, even when it feels like we've dug ourselves such a deep hole and there's nowhere to go. And oh my God, what am I doing? I'm so stuck. There's always another option. There's always an out. It's not over till it's over, right? So we can always find a new solution. And in a weird way, as much as it's fun to be kind of delusional and just on to the next, like, I'm a Pisces. I don't want to attack us Pisces, but kind of be in Pisces, like, la la la, Pisces delusion mode. That's a fun mode to be in, right? But if we keep in that too much, then nothing's going to really shift or change. And as much as it's not really fun to be in Virgo mode and to come in with like your clipboard and be like, that's a problem, that needs to be fixed. At the end of the day, we're going to be so much happier, even if we're just going through Virgo mode for a season or for a temporary amount of time. We're going to be so much happier if we can actually do that hard work, roll up our sleeves and start cleaning. And that's what earth energy is all about, is kind of that hard work. And you guys have these pentacles coming out. That's what I mean. Virgo is an earth sign, and it's all about coming in, doing the work, pushing yourself and buckling down and just being like, yep, this is what has to be done. I'm going to do it. And I feel like a lot of you guys, you're really building a foundation. But the funny thing about that is, even though that is like the best thing you could do, it really, like I said, it doesn't feel fun. It doesn't feel glamorous. When you're knee deep in like trash and cleaning out a hoarding house, the last thing you feel like is like, wow, I'm at a great place in my life. This is awesome. You're probably questioning your life choices and being like, this is the worst thing ever. And as gross as it was before, a lot of those people in the hoarding houses, they'll be like, I'll never forget this one lady who had like stuff piled floor to ceiling in her kitchen. And she was like, so this is my kitchen. And she was showing it around like so proudly. And you kind of wonder like, what is happening psychologically? And I feel like a lot of that is being like coping, not being willing to acknowledge reality, not being willing to be like, yeah, this is a problem and I know it's gross, and not even being willing to admit that to yourself, and just blotting your consciousness out until you've completely ignored the fact that there's trash piled up and like cockroaches and there's a lot of problems. And it's funny because as depressing as it is to acknowledge the mess, it's so much better long term. It feels better to distract yourself, to like go watch a TV show or go swipe on TikTok or just hang out with friends or do something else. It doesn't feel like fun to dig out trash and throw it away, but that's going to make us happier in the end. And I feel like a lot of you guys have been doing that in your life recently. You have been willing to take on this work. You've been willing to look at yourselves in the mirror and be honest with yourselves on a really deep level that I feel like you weren't before. I feel like some of you guys really turned a blind eye to things in the past and would just kind of blow through them and just kind of not even deal. And so the problem, like I've been saying, is it's just painful when you get to that stage where you're confronting things, where you're like, okay, yep, I messed this up. It's so much more fun to stay in delusion. It's so much more fun to be like, oh, whatever, I'll deal with it tomorrow. But I think you guys are really, really making some positive strides. And whatever this is in your life, I do feel like you need to know that, yeah, maybe you're in an energy now where you're taking stock and you're like, yeah, I messed this up really, really bad. And I can't believe I did this for myself, or I can't believe I'm here, or I'm so behind, or can't believe I didn't do this. I should have done that 5 years ago, or I should have been better at this, or I should have fixed that. But on the other side of this, you're going to be so much happier, and you have the potential to really fix and change this situation. It's not over, okay? You may feel right now depressed about it, but cut to 6 months from now, after you've done this hard work, you might be like, wow, I actually, I think sometimes too, it's like, how many times have we procrastinated about something? How many times have we been like, oh, I need to really clean my kitchen? And then like, oh, well, I'm just going to watch this thing on TV. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do that. And then all this time goes by and it becomes like this bigger and bigger thing in our mind. And then when we finally just go in and be like, okay, screw it, I'll clean it today, it takes no time at all. And then you're like, why did I not do this earlier? Like, I'm sure we all have funny stories of things we procrastinated about, things that have become this like monument or mountain in our mind of like, oh, I really don't want to call that company and like, have to deal with blah, blah, blah issue. And then when we finally call, the call lasts like 3 seconds and it's super easy, And I think for a lot of you guys, it's like this situation, if you have been feeling down in the dumps, or if you have been feeling really stuck in your life, you might be surprised that it's a lot easier to deal with. And there's a lot of potential here to take care of it and to fix it and to make it better. And for some of you guys, maybe you do know that. Maybe you have been putting in the work. Your guides are so proud of you because I feel like a lot of you guys have been willing to take this on. You haven't been running away. You haven't been putting on those rose-colored glasses and pretending about things. You have been facing things head on. And I feel like your guides are just really overjoyed. I want to get a couple cards from this deck. So what cards do we have for pile number one? What cards do we have for pile number one about what their guides are proud of? Falling angel, spiritual narcolepsy. That's so interesting because that's making me think of that energy again of like falling asleep, pretending like you're not hearing it, ignoring those messages from our guides. And I think sometimes that's where anxiety comes from, is like low level anxiety is like when you're supposed to deal with something, or you're supposed to change something, and you just refuse to. You just keep ignoring it. You just keep blotting out. And some of that is like from your guides. Like your guides are trying to scream at you and be like, stop doing this. But you refuse to listen because you're so afraid of what it's going to look like if you finally take stock and are honest with yourself. It's reminding me of, sometimes when someone's like driving and they're like, yeah, I knew I was lost, but I didn't want to have to stop and ask for directions. Or, I knew this was going bad. I knew there was a problem with my car, but I didn't think I could afford to fix it. So I just kept driving, and then the engine completely burnt out. And now I have to replace an engine, and that costs like $2,000, So it's like, I think that it's easier to ignore, but once we get into the habit of dealing with these problems and just listening to them the first time and just realizing that maybe the anxiety we're feeling is for a reason. I also want to talk about this Five of Wands, which we kind of glazed over, but I feel like some of you guys have also been doing some unpacking with past relationships. Maybe some of you guys have felt betrayed by people in the past, or you felt like people really treated you badly. Maybe some of you guys have been taking stock of how people reacted to you in the past, friendships or relationships, or people that were just unfair to you. And I feel like as painful as that's been, you're also, it's such a positive step forward to be honest with yourself. Because I think the more unconscious we are, the more we just think that that's forever. It's kind of like, if you're not willing to confront the fact that like your ex-boyfriend really didn't treat you very well, maybe then that becomes your baseline, and you just think, well, that's just how I'll always be treated in a relationship, because you're too scared to admit that like, no, he was really mean to me and he really didn't value me. Or that friend that I kind of knew was shady towards me, yeah, she really hated me. And it's kind of like, until we acknowledge that, we're not able to say how unacceptable it was. You know, the more we kind of pretend that like, no, we're still good friends, and yeah, they were kind of mean to me a few times, but I don't think they meant it, the more we're justifying that behavior, and the more we're telling ourselves on the inside that like, no, that's fine, that's what you deserve. And the more we can kind of really take a hard look at it and be like, yeah, that was really unacceptable, that friend was a total jerk and I didn't deserve to be treated that way, the more we're kind of standing up for our inner child. So as painful as it is to do that trauma work, to do that shadow work, to unpack those relationships in the past where we have felt disrespected or not treated well, or we have felt like the person kind of stabbed us in the back, that is not a fun emotion. But on the other side of that is acknowledging that we do deserve to be treated well. We do deserve to have beautiful relationships with people who are kind to us, nice to us, who see the best in us. And the more we can stop being delusional and pretending that like, it's fine. No, he didn't invite me to his birthday, but no, it's fine. Like, I know he invited everyone else, but he does like me. We do get along. You know what I mean? The lies and delusion, it's almost like we're so afraid to admit that, oh, that person didn't like me. Or yeah, maybe he wasn't that into me and that's why he treated me bad. Or maybe he just was sadistic or whatever. But acknowledging that it was bad treatment, acknowledging that it wasn't okay, allows us to kind of set the framework for the new relationship we want and be like, yeah, I'll never be treated like that again. You know, it wasn't acceptable. Let me get one more card from this deck for pile 1, and what their guides are proud of them for. So what can you tell me about that? Oh my God, I love that this is the last card from that deck. Stars in the sky, limitless possibility. So your guides really want you to know that, like I said, there's so much growth potential you guys have with this. Like, rest assured and don't be afraid. You are not going to be stuck in this energy forever. This is not like a forever life sentence of like, now you started unpacking your trauma, so this is where you're going to be at for the rest of your life, or you're finally acknowledging that you're in really bad debt. So now you're going to be in debt forever and there's no way of paying it back. Or you're single now and you're finally acknowledging that you miss someone and want a relationship. So now you're going to be always this way. But actually, it's through taking that first step and feeling that hurt, feeling that pain, that we set the foundation for a new beginning. You know, it's kind of like if you try to build a house. A foundation is a good term, because you try to build a house on like a really rocky, or I shouldn't say rocky because I think that's pretty stable, a rickety foundation. Like, try to build it on sand, or try to build it on, I don't know, a swamp or something like that, like non-solid ground that has a sinkhole underneath, then we're probably going to get in pretty big trouble. We might be able to build it on sand for a little while and pretend, but if we aren't honest with ourselves about what that foundation is, and we're not like, no, this is sand, like I need to put in, I don't know, extra cement, or I need to dig extra deep, or I can't really build it here because it's just not going to be solid enough. Let me move it a bit down the road. Whatever we have to do about this, we have to really make sure that we are creating a life that's going to be stable and has that solid foundation. You know, and it's reminding me of like, if you're going to build a skyscraper, if you've ever seen the inside, like there's photos of like the bottom, the garage, or the cleared out land that they built for the World Trade Center back in the day. And in order to have such a huge skyscraper, they have to build super deep underground in order to like displace the gravity. Like, obviously you can't just have a skyscraper, imagine it, like actually just no basement, just standing straight up from the street. It would obviously just topple over at the first gust of wind. So basically, in order to get it to stay that, to build up that tall, they have to dig super deep into the ground. And a lot of times they'll use that for like parking garages and stuff like that. But basically, if you saw just that footage, if you went up to like the building site for the World Trade Center at the time, back in the 70s, and you saw what was going on, you'd probably not think, oh my God, this looks amazing. This is going to be so great. You'd be like, what the heck is this? There's like this giant hole in the ground. Nothing's happening. It looks barren. It looks bereft. It is now not only is the land just clear and not a lot going on? Now it's dug down deep underground. There's a giant gaping hole and it looks like a mess. It looks absolutely awful. It looks kind of desolate and dark and scary. But that's the process. If you want to build something as beautiful and stunning and massive as like a World Trade Center, you have to dig that far deep underground. So don't mistake the process that when we're excavating our life, when we're really looking at the shadow side, when we're really taking a hard look at the things we've got wrong or the things we need to shift and change, that doesn't mean we're going to be stuck that way forever. That doesn't mean that's how it's going to look permanently. That might mean that that's how it looks now, but in the future, it's going to be that beautiful show-stopping skyscraper that everyone marvels at and thinks is beautiful. So I think it's really important to just have that perspective and to know that that part of the work is not where it's going to end. It's just where we're at now. So let me get some message cards for pile one to kind of end this reading on. What are pile one's guides proud of them for? What are pile one's guides proud of them for? Okay, this one flew out. Vast vistas, expand your horizons, and answering the call, the time is now. Let me get one more for pile number one. This one says, first life, beginning a new cycle. I love that we're ending on that one because it really does feel like a new cycle for you. It feels like something is shifting and changing and ending. And the person you're going to be at the end of this shadow work is going to be so much more powerful, such a force of nature, because you've been willing to go through this, because you've been willing to confront things and really answer that call and really listen to your guides, listen to your gut, listen to your intuition, and be truthful with yourself about like, yeah, I'm not happy here. Yep, I messed things up for myself, you know? Instead of coping, instead of lying, instead of pretending that everything's fine, you have been willing to really take a look at yourselves. And I think your guides are so proud of that. They're so happy for you. And look how many positive cards you guys got at the end, from stars in the sky, limitless possibility, vast vistas, expand your horizons, first life, beginning a new cycle, answering the call, the time is now. Honestly, it's amazing how we moved or merged away from some of these really negative cards you got in the tarot to this positivity ending the reading. And I feel like that's your trajectory. It's kind of like that phrase, it's always darkest before dawn. And that moment when we're looking at things and we're like, yeah, that really doesn't look good. Doesn't look like I'm doing great in my life. I always think that's like the pivotal moment in the movie. Like that's the moment that they have to put in the superhero film where he's like, oh my God, my girlfriend got kidnapped and I don't even know if what I'm doing is right. And like, maybe she was targeted for me, and he goes through like this inner crisis. And that's before he saves the world at the end and everything turns out super happy. Or in the romantic movie when the couple is separated somehow. They got in a huge fight or something and they're not talking, and they're, she decides to fly across the country and take a new job, and you think they're broken up forever, and then they somehow reunite. All the movies seem to have that like same plot, in just adjusted for like different genres for like the exact plot points or whatever, but they all have that same plot where like it reaches a low point and then some beautiful resolution at the end, because there's something so fundamentally true about that, even in our lives. That's what the Wheel of Fortune card represents. So never mistake those moments when we feel like everything's coming against us, everything's falling apart, nothing's working out. Think of that as like, that's awesome. I'm at that point of that movie when everything is about to switch and change and start working out perfectly for me. And this is a really good thing. This isn't a bad thing. This is like the best part of the movie. Let me go get some popcorn. Let me get some like jujubes or some, I don't know, Dippin' Dots or some Reese's Pieces, and let me like hunker in and watch the rest of this because I know it's going to be extra good. So yeah, I think your guides are so proud of the work you have done. I think your guides are so pleased with everything you have been willing to do, and the fact that you've been willing to take a really hard look at things. And it may not seem like the most fun time now, but I think cutting to a few years from now, y'all are just doing so much work. It's going to get so much better. And I think you're going to, all the things that are coming up for you now about anxiety or like, I need to fix this, fine with that. I can't believe I didn't do a good job with this. Ugh, I'm doing horrible here. That is exactly the things, those are the things that are going to be resolved beautifully. Those are the things that you're putting so much focus and attention on that you are going to fix and change. Your guides are going to help you with that. And rest assured that I think you're going to be in such an amazing place, like couple months, years, whatever down the line, and your guides could not be more proud. So I really hope that helped, pile one. I'm sending you guys all my love. I know you guys seem like you're dealing with a lot, so giving you an extra little, what is it? Like a hug from afar, I guess. A digital hug. That sounds kind of creepy and dystopian, but anyway, I am giving you a hug from afar and wishing you guys the best because I know you're just on such a great trajectory and it's going to be even better and better for you. So I hope that helped, guys. Let me know if it did in the comments. Always love hearing from you guys, and I would love to know what you have going on or what you've been working on, what you've been trying to fix or change with your life. Also give this reading a thumbs up if it resonated, and make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit the little bell. And if you want to see more of my content, head to my Patreon where you can access over 65 additional readings. I just posted a reading all about what it's going to look like for you. So when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, whatever it means for you, manifestation or something you're wanting, when it's going to happen and what it's going to look like. We get into a lot of detail. That reading is over 3 hours long. So if you want to check that out, head to my Patreon. The link for that is underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description. And of course, you'll get access to all the readings. So over 65 readings, and they're over every topic: love, career, money, friends, relocation, family, every topic. I try to cover all the bases. So if you want to watch, like I said, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description for my Patreon. And if you want to get a private one-on-one reading with me, you can also get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. You can sign up for a half hour or a full hour-long session with me, have me pull tarot for you, read your astrology, channel for you, and ask me basically whatever you want. So if you want to get that, like I said, head to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link is in my description for that. So thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, I'm sending you guys a big hug from afar. I know you're doing so good, and just I'm encouraging you guys and cheering you on, and happy for you just like your guides are. So can't wait to see where you go from here, and I will see you in the next reading, you guys. So sending you lots of love until then. Bye. Hey Pile 2, welcome to your reading. So if you guys picked this vanilla macaron, this is going to be your reading. It looks super good, doesn't it? Nice and vanilla, creamy. Anyways, guys, let's get into your cards. You guys got Golden Palace, Flying, and Solitude. It feels like for a lot of you guys, you might have, I keep hearing in my mind, I'm fed up and putting my foot down. So maybe there's something about you guys that lately you have decided to make a move or change something major in your life, or just step into a very bold and brave energy. I feel like there's almost like a selfish energy around this pile. And I mean that as a compliment, because as I always say, the sun is exalted in Aries for a reason. It's ruled by Leo. So there is something to be said for thinking a little bit about the self, and that being our destiny and what we are supposed to do. And I feel like for you guys, there's this energy of boldness around you, and that you're not holding yourself back anymore or trying to appease people. I feel like your guides are really happy about that. I also feel like some of you guys, maybe if you even struggled with anxiety in the past or would deliberate or have trouble making decisions in the past, feels like now you're in an energy of really being decisive and making choices that benefit you, and not going back and forth so much anymore about like, what is that person going to say? I hope this person's okay with it. Well, I don't want to make that person mad, and I'm trying to keep the peace. Like, I don't feel like you spend as much time worrying about those things as you did before. And it feels like you are stepping into a lot of boldness and kind of self-reliance. For some of you guys, your guides are super proud about your financial situation or your job. They want to give you a pat on the back, even if you're not at the full place of what you're trying to manifest financially. Maybe some of you guys already are there. Maybe some of you guys are on the way there. But either way, they can see that trajectory and they want to point out how far you've come, that a lot of you guys have really put work in and been willing to step up to the plate in a major way. And your guides are so happy and just really pleased, because it's almost like it could have gone either way. What I'm hearing is you had plenty of opportunities to tap out, to quit, to give up, or to question and doubt yourselves, and you have kept pushing. You have been very brave and been very like self-reliant, determined, and dogged about this. You have not just let yourself get intimidated and run away from the challenge. A lot of you guys have really pushed yourselves, and I feel like your guides are so happy with that. They love this kind of bold energy that you guys are exuding, and I feel like some of you guys are really like living your best lives, or stepping into that. You are enjoying life a little bit more. Feels almost like you're more alive than you were in the past. And I just feel like you're a lot more passionate. And what I'm loving is that it just feels like in the past you would definitely prioritize other people's feelings, or try to get along with everyone, or worry about like, I wonder if this person likes me, I hope they got a good impression of me. And now it really feels like you don't give that any airtime, and you really are focusing on yourselves. With the solitude card, maybe some of you guys are more okay with being alone, or with spending time by yourself. Maybe you're like, it doesn't bother me anymore. Or if in the past I used to worry about making sure everyone thought I was cool and putting on a good impression, now you're like, yep, I don't think that person likes me anyway, I don't care. And there's so much strength in that. There's so much authenticity coming through in this reading. Like the things that I feel like in the past, some of you try to twist yourselves into pretzels to appeal to people, to appease people, to get them to like you, to get them to want to be around you. And I feel like more and more, you just don't care. If someone doesn't like you, or if they have a problem with you, or if they don't enjoy what you are putting out, you're not going to lose sweat. You're not going to lose sleep over it or sweat over it like you might have done in the past. And your guides are just cheering. They are so happy that you've kind of left that insecure side of yourself behind, or you're in the process of doing it. And they feel like it's about time, because they're like, in a way, pile two, there were always people who would come against you or dislike you. If for some reason you guys in this pile are maybe controversial in some way, or some of you guys had trouble being like bullied when you were younger, or having people just not like you for whatever reason, just know that your guides are like, I'm so glad that pile two has accepted this now and stopped taking it personally. Stop being like, oh, it's because there's something wrong with me. Taylor Swift has a line which is like, people throw stones at things that shine, or something like that. And I think it's a really true statement. And she's a great example, because she gets a lot of hate, right? And it's almost like the more powerful she becomes, the bigger she becomes, the more people hate on her and the more controversial she is. Even when she's like not doing anything and she's minding her business and just walking into a restaurant, people will get mad about it. And that's the thing, is like, sometimes people hate on someone because they can sense their power, because they can sense their potential, because they can sense that they have the power and the possibility within them to be a change maker, to have an impact, and that they affect people. And maybe they're intimidated because they don't think they're on your level. But the point is that it's really silly and a waste of our time to spend time thinking or trying to understand someone else's perspective. And I feel like it's almost like in the past, some of you guys might have ignored like negative treatment, or ignored when someone was being rude to you, or ignored when someone didn't really like you, and maybe you try to like get on their good side and prove to them that like, no, I am really nice and whatever. And I feel like now you're like, I don't have anything to prove to you, like, bye. And you are just not interested. Like, if someone's gonna hate, or if someone's gonna not like you, it doesn't bother you at all. And I love that for you. I love how much stronger you're becoming, and it feels like you are going from success to success. Maybe that people-pleasing vibe or the worries about how others would perceive you was really holding you back in the past. Because I feel like your guides are saying with this golden palace and flying card that there's such a successful trajectory for you. A lot of you guys, the sky is the limit. You are headed somewhere freaking amazing, and you're going to accomplish so much, and you're going to see so much success because of it. And it feels like that went part and parcel with you letting go this worry about how others perceive you. I feel like some of you guys have really let a lot of relationships end. You have let certain areas of your life kind of burn down to the ground. Probably people you thought were going to be around you forever, maybe old friends, maybe even family members. It feels like you have really created this like whole new identity for yourself, and your guides are just like, oof, like they are really doing this. They are really going for it. And I feel like they are so excited to see you, because it's almost like in the past, some of you guys had to really hold yourselves back. And some of it was that desperation or that trying to appease others. And I don't want to say desperation, but kind of like, sometimes I do think, people will sabotage themselves because they don't want to shine too bright, because they know that that's going to bring jealousy. People can hear the negative things people say about Taylor Swift, who I just mentioned, and they might know, like, yeah, she doesn't seem super problematic, but there's these people that really hate her, and doesn't really seem like it's over anything super intense that she actually did wrong. Like, of course, sometimes there's celebrities people hate, but they seem like they deserve it because they seem like they're a really mean person or a jerk. But I think we can see that there's plenty of hate directed at people who are completely non-problematic. Like my favorite, I love Joel Osteen, and I'm always amazed when people are like, he's a scammer, I hate him. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because to me, I just completely disagree. And I think a lot of it is the media, or just people wanting to find negative things, people wanting to blow up a story or act like someone's evil for, I don't know, making money or whatever. My point is that there's always going to be something someone can find. And I think we know this deep down, whether you like those two people or you don't like them or others, we all can think of people that were like, they seem really awesome. And the mob or people in general, society just kind of turns on them. And I think that can create a fear inside all of us of like, oh, I don't want to stick my neck out. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to get attention. I don't want people to notice me. So I'm just going to keep myself small. I'm just going to kind of keep myself in the shadows, because I don't need that heat. I don't need that smoke. And the thing is, I feel like it's almost like something switched inside you and you got fed up. And now I feel like you are willing to shine yourself a lot more brightly and almost like be unpopular. It's almost like you've learned to say no, or to put your foot down, or to tell people off a little bit, or to be like, if someone's mad and they're freaking out on you, to be like, okay, anyway, I don't really care, instead of scrambling around to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I meant it like this. And I could try it again. Like, I feel like in the past, you did a lot of that. You did a lot of the people pleasing. You did a lot of the worrying about what is this person going to say and what are they going to think of me? And now you're like learning to step into like full authenticity of like, I don't care what you think, to be honest. So you can be mad, you can be happy. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. And I feel like, yeah, it's almost like you have let those friendships and relationships really drop off. I'm hearing some of you guys have lost major relationships, but it doesn't feel like you're in mourning. It feels like you guys are getting more and more powerful and growing in your power every day that passes. You're not allowing yourself to sit around and be sad and cry all the time. You're like hustling and moving on and building something new for yourself. And I think that's freaking amazing. I think your guides are really pleased with that. Let me get into some tarot cards. So we got the World, the King of Wands, King of Swords, and the Queen of Wands. So double wand energy. And fire is all about that. Fire loves to fight, to be honest. Like fire signs, they can deny it all they want, but fire signs thrive in battle and conflict. And most fire signs, I think, get a little charge. You know how like maybe a fight would start and a lot of people would be like, oh my God, those people are, and a fire sign would be that person like grinning from the side of the room being like, yes, because they kind of like, they thrive. It's like that line from, I think, some Batman movie, The Dark Rises, where the villain guy says like, you've just arrived at the fire. I was born in it. And it's so interesting they chose the fire because that's, like I said, it's like a fire sign thing. It's like that conflict, that heat, the trouble, the kind of problems that fire signs will face sometimes, like the striving to get through it, the difficulty and the pain of a fire, that some people are like, I can't handle this heat. A fire sign is like, bring it on. I love it, you know? And so there's so much power in that. And I feel like that's what's beautiful about this is you've accepted. That's what I think. Sometimes people are like, oh, fire signs love to fight or they start conflict. And I think they do. I think that's fair. But I also think that there's something about other signs sometimes just running from conflict or being like, well, no, let's keep the peace. No, everything's fine. No, I don't want to argue. It's okay. And a fire sign just being like, well, there's already conflict and tension here, so let's just deal with it. Like, that's why Mars is, in fall in Libra, is because Libra wants to keep the peace desperately, and they want everyone to get along, and they want everything to be good. So even in my experiences with Libra Mars is like, there will be something bothering them, or Libra placements in general, but especially with Mars, where it's not at home, and Mars is kind of a fire energy. There's something on their mind. There's something that's really bothering them, but they will not tell you. Even if you're like, what is going on? They'll be like, it's fine. No, I'm not mad. No, it's good. It's good. But it is bothering them. And it'll come out in like passive aggressive ways or in, other ways, because you can't get rid of that conflict. You can't get rid of that like desire for change or whatever is driving you. You just have to deal with it in a healthy way. And I think that's what fire signs are okay with, is like, they're down to fight. They're not going to necessarily want to fight or definitely stake it out and try to start it every time. But if it does start a fight, if a fight pops off, they're fully okay with dealing with that. They're not going to be upset about it. In fact, they're going to kind of enjoy that battle. And I feel like for you guys, you've stepped into that where you're kind of like, yeah, I know people aren't going to like me. In the past, it feels like that would terrify you. That would drive you up a wall and you would start panicking about like, can't believe this person doesn't like me. I can't believe they don't like what I'm doing. What if they think I'm stupid? What if they think I'm cringe? And now you're like, yeah. And I think, again, back to like, again, not to continuously talk about this woman, but I think also like we have to accept that all of us are going to be cringe. So many people say Taylor Swift is so cringe. And it doesn't just have to be her. I think she's like the biggest celebrity right now, but there's so many different people that we can think of, and they all that are celebrities, and pretty much they all started out as cringe. Even like Beyonce at one point was, I think she was a young kid dancing at these like local events, right? Getting her start, and nobody knew her, and she wasn't Beyonce yet in all caps that everyone had heard of. She was just a random kid who was like dancing at the local, the local state fair event or whatever, those little events people have to perform at when they're starting out. Everyone was cringe at one point, and we kind of have to accept that like, yeah, some people are going to think we're cringe. Some people are going to think what we're doing is dumb, no matter who you are. I mean, I would say Beyonce's image right now isn't super cringe, but in the same way, I think a lot more people would say Taylor is cringe versus Beyonce now. But my point is, anyone who's doing something big is going to have a group of people who doesn't like them. Anyone who's doing something special or different, and the more, I think in a way, the more of a change agent you are, the more ripples you make, the more people are going to dislike it, because most people like the status quo. Most people want to fit in. Most people are going to go with the tide. So if everyone is saying like, yeah, that person sucks, everyone's going to go along with it. Or if people are saying, I don't really like the vibes of that person, no one wants to be that person who sticks out of the crowd, unless you're an Aquarius, who's going to be like, well, I actually think it was awesome. So in a weird way, it's that thing that just opinions seem to be formed by like society, and then just everyone goes along with it. And it can be a scary thing then to put yourself out there and to be like, well, I'm going to do this thing that's kind of vulnerable from my heart, and I'm just going to do it, and I don't really care how people react to me, because you're putting it out there, and you could definitely get that scorn or the people who don't like it. And it doesn't have to be anything you're just necessarily fully putting out in terms of like putting something on the internet, but it could just be you going around and talking to people or trying to make friends or opening your voice in a meeting and speaking up. But I feel like for you, this kind of fear energy, this anxiety you used to have, you're just not entertaining it. You're just kind of out of time for that. You're going to speak up. You're going to be that King of Swords and give your opinion, and you really don't care what people have to say. And I feel like because of that, there's so much potential for you to influence things. There's so much potential for you guys to make that impact and to change things. And I feel like your guides were really wanting that for a really long time. Maybe some of you guys in this pile haven't fully taken that step yet. And you're like, yeah, I do want to put something out there in the world, but I'm scared of judgment. In which case, take this reading as your confirmation that that's exactly what you need to do. But I think that you've reached a point of not being as concerned about others and not letting it get to you. And honestly, that's amazing. And it just makes your potential so much higher. We also got the World card, and the World card is a card of completion. So for a lot of you guys, maybe you have reached a new level in your career or in something with your personal life or with some goal you've had. And if that's the case, I feel like your guides are just wanting you to give yourself that pat on the back and to acknowledge how far you've come, to acknowledge how much growth you've done and how much you've pushed yourself. And like looking back a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever, where were you in your life at that time? Where were you, 2 years back, 3 years back in, I guess, if you're watching this when it's released, 2020, October 2020. You probably were at a way worse place in your life. And I feel like there's something very brave. It's almost like a lion waking up inside of you. I feel like some of you guys have done so much growth and so much distillation is what I'm hearing. Like it's almost like you removed all those desperate little sad parts of yourself. And I feel like you're not allowing anyone to hold you back. If you have gotten rid of relationships, I feel like your guides want to commend you on how brave you've been and how you have cleared space in your life and you are ready to build something brand new. And some of you guys are coming to that culmination moment. Some of you guys are going to have a big moment of like celebration or getting some validation in the near future if it hasn't already happened. And I feel like some of that also just needs to come from internally. You need to be willing to pause, to take a step back, to look at exactly how far you've come, because it's almost like only you can acknowledge this, only you can point out exactly what you have done and how far you guys have worked. Let me get into some of these cards for pile number 2. What are their guides proud of them for? What are their guides proud of them for? Gathering around the power of community. Okay. Woodwives, adaptability. I'm hearing some of you guys have felt really betrayed in the past couple years, or maybe your life has just changed drastically. Maybe, like I was saying, 3 years ago, you were living a completely different life. And I am hearing for some of you guys, maybe this at times felt like a really negative change. Maybe it didn't feel like, woohoo, I reached the world card and I'm succeeding and I'm in my party celebration moment. Look at what I've done. Yay. Maybe it felt like an L. Maybe it felt like you guys really, were down bad and that things weren't working out. And maybe there was a lot of pain with that, a feeling of, I can't believe these people did that to me, or I'm having to start all over, or I'm starting brand new, or I'm, shifting my identity in a way I didn't want to have to. Either way, I feel like you guys really took it on the chin. There is a toughness inside of you, pile 2, that's coming through so strong. And it's reminding me of a study I heard that the number one predictor of success, when they look at young kids and then they actually trace them into adulthood and follow and see which ones succeed, which ones don't, they found that the number one predictor of success was not intelligence, not social skills, not looks or anything else. It was grit. And grit is defined as like the ability to keep going when you get knocked down. So they can kind of measure this. They can take like a little kid and see, watch them, observe them playing and see all the kids might have a time when they get pushed down in the playground by another kid, or they, get answers wrong on a test and they really don't know the answer, and they're kind of scrambling around, and what is their reaction? So for the kids that just got knocked down and they would just burst into tears and start crying, versus the kid that's going to get pull back up on their feet and just stand back up and be like, why did you push me, and kind of fight back. Or the kid that doesn't know the answers on the test and just stares at the test and like maybe gets really upset or gives up, versus the kid that just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing themselves to learn more. And that's kind of how I think they can measure this. So it's like a psychological characteristic, grit, the ability to push yourself and keep going and not give up. And that was the number one indicator of whether someone would be a success in life. And I feel like you guys would score really high on grit, because Spirit has just told me that some of you guys have really had your behinds kicked within the last few years. It has been a tough time. Maybe there's been a lot of changes, a lot of having to pivot, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of transformation, maybe relationships leaving for some of you guys, possibly betrayals. But either way, it feels like you continuously just brush the dirt off and keep pushing yourself and keep going, and you haven't let it hold you back. And I feel like that's something your guides are so proud of, because they're saying to me that other people could not have continued going through this the way you have. Other people could not have faced these challenges and still kept their head high the way you guys have. And they are so proud. They are so amazed at everything you guys have brought to the table, everything you guys have done, in the way you have just not let people bring you down. That's something that I feel like your guides are just, they're like, wow, we picked the right one deciding to be guides for pile 2. That's what they just told me in my mind. Kind of funny. But yeah, I feel like they're amazed, because some of you guys might have had to go into hermit mode with this solitude card, gathering around the power of community. It feels like relationships were an issue for some of you guys, or feeling betrayed or losing out on certain people. And it's just like, other people could not have dealt with this. Other people could not have stood alone or taken an onslaught from other people, or been trashed by someone, or had a friend stab them in the back, or a family member or a loved one, whatever the case may be, whatever this was for you. And it feels like you just have been very stoic, very disciplined. It's funny because we were talking about Mars, and Mars being in fall in Libra, and then Mars is exalted in Capricorn, and Capricorn is a very graceful sign that really doesn't let anyone see them sweat, and is very kind of calm under pressure. That's why it's exalted. That's why Mars is exalted there. And it feels like you tapped into this very calm inner place. Instead of you like whining and crying or giving in to the pressure that I feel like these people wanted to get out of you, they wanted to see you sad, they wanted to bring you down. It feels like you guys just pushed through. You just powered through. You just kept going. You just had faith in yourself. And I feel like you should know that your guides, your spiritual team is so close around you. And some of you in this pile are really destined for greatness. You're really destined to leave an imprint on things, to be heard, to raise your voice up. And I feel like your guides are kind of glad. Not all these relationships, I'm not saying all of them are not salvageable. It's a general reading. So of course, take what resonates and leave the rest, as always. And if you want to make up with these people, then, definitely don't let me hold you back. Use your intuition and listen to your own inner discernment. That's what's most important. But I will say that I feel like for a lot of you guys, if there were toxic relationships you had to let go of, I feel like your team is so pleased about that. They're so happy. They're like, yes, that person's finally gone. And I'm so glad, because it's almost like there may have been jealousy or anger or resentment or wanting to take you down. And I feel like you held yourself back to appeal to those people. I feel like you did not shine as bright as you could, because you knew they would be jealous, and you knew that they would take it as like an attack. You knew that that would get under their skin. So instead you would just be like, I'm not going to show myself. I'm going to hide in the shadows. I'm going to hold myself back. And I feel like you need to know that your guides, I feel like your guides are like, no one else could have done this the way pile number 2 did. There's something about some of you guys really landing on your feet and being thrown for a loop. And I feel like it's almost like for some of you guys, this was a major trauma or a major change, a major life transition that other people could not have handled. Other people would have been flummoxed. Other people would have been like, I can't deal with this. This is too much for me. And you kept going. You are so strong and powerful. And I feel like your guides are just, they really want to take this chance to be like, excuse me, can we pause and hold on? Like, it's kind of like in the movies how, you know, sometimes someone will come out, they'll be like, everyone's leaving for prom, but there's one person who looks freaking amazing. And in your mind, you're like, how are we not acknowledging that this one character looks like a supermodel? No one's talking about it. Like, I feel like your guides are kind of directing that towards you. They're like, hold on. Why aren't you pointing out how amazing you are and everything you overcame, Pile 2? Why are you just glazing over this and just acting nonchalant when you know how much you carried yourself, you pushed yourself, and you overcame? And you need to give yourself that pat on the back and be like, wow, I really did this. I really, really did this. Look at what I did. And yeah, I think you kind of need to give yourself a little credit, throw yourself a little party or something. And I feel like that grit and that determination that you have, it's just going to keep building on yourself, and you're just going to keep creating more and more of this amazing foundation for yourself and more success. Let's get some message cards to end off this reading. What does this one say? Watching clouds, lie back, rest, and relax. Okay, these are flying out of these. I guess they really want these messages for you. Unknown territory. You are exactly where you need to be. So don't doubt if you have been going back and forth and maybe you felt like, yeah, I have made a lot of changes over the past 3 years. And sometimes I think I'm going crazy. And sometimes I really regret it. And sometimes I wonder if I've lost my mind. It reminds me of one of my absolute, probably my top favorite movie, Under the Tuscan Sun, which I think is so underrated. It's like the best movie and no one talks about it. But when she basically, I'll just sum it up really quick without spoilers, but this woman is like cheated on, and then her husband leaves her for his affair partner. So she goes to Italy and buys a villa and starts a new life. Well, she was just going on vacation, but then she falls in love with this villa and she moves there. And anyway, the movie's super good. But when she's thinking of purchasing the villa, she's like negotiating with the homeowner, and she's basically saying like, this is what I can afford. I can't afford the full price of the house, but I can afford this. I can afford, this is my settlement money. I need to subtract money for tools, and I need to pay contractors. And she's like typing in all the amounts. And then she says at the end, and then a car at the end to drive myself off a cliff if this doesn't work out because I've lost my mind. And I love that feeling, that, you know, that feeling of that clip, that feeling of like when you're making a big life choice and you literally feel like you've gone crazy. And that's kind of like, to me, the most divine moment. Like when I can think of all the best things that have happened to me, there was that sense of like, what am I doing? What is going on? This is so out of the ordinary for me. And in a way you can know, not always, but sometimes when it does feel like, oh my God, who am I? And this is so different from me. It's almost like that confirmation that you're on the right path, because then it's authentic. It's not something you're doing because, oh, that makes sense and it's on my path and that's the next logical step for me, but you're doing it because you really, really want to. You're doing it because it's coming from a place deep inside. You're not doing it because someone else is expecting it of you. You're doing it because you're feeling your heart pull on it, not because your rational mind is telling you to do that. So I think that's why I love that part of that movie. And I think about it all the time. Just the emotion she has of like, am I making the biggest mistake of my life, but feeling this pull towards this random old borderline abandoned villa. I feel like some of us have come to those almost like crossroads moments where we're like, I don't even know if I recognize this person. Like, it's like the person who's living in Manhattan and then decides to sell their apartment one day and move out to the middle of Wyoming and, you know, live in a little cottage or something, and they're like, I think I've lost my mind, but it ends up being the best thing for them. Or vice versa, someone from small town Wyoming and they move to an apartment in New York City and it's exactly what their heart is telling them and that's what they wanted, and it opens up a new life for them. But the point is listening to your voice. And I feel like you just need to know that confirmation that if those people did fall out of your life, or those changes, as traumatic as they can feel, especially when they're initiated by like a betrayal, I feel like you are exactly where you need to be. Let's get some more cards, and one final card. This one says finding sanctuary, opening up to your spiritual source. I feel like a lot of you guys did that, and maybe you're continuing to do that, but there is this message of kind of like not being afraid to take a break, not being afraid, not feeling like you have to keep going a million miles an hour, because it almost feels like for a while some of you guys were in survivor mode. Some of you guys felt like you just had to keep pushing and keep going, and it was like, you know, it was a little exhausting. I feel like it was so much work, and it was kind of like, when do I have time to sleep, or when can I relax, or why does my life keep going through this upheaval, you know? And a little bit of that backbreaking quality that it had of like, I have no time to rest. I have no time to chill. And I feel like your guides just want you to kind of pull back and be like, okay, look where I'm at now. Maybe I don't have to be in survival mode for the rest of my life. Maybe I can kind of pause and take a look around and be like, oh, actually, this is pretty cool. This is pretty great. I'm kind of like where I need to be. I don't need to keep pushing myself so much anymore, because I'm already here. I already have a nice life, and I've already done so much for myself. And your guides are already in that mode where they're like, you need to celebrate yourself a little bit. Like, you already did so much. And maybe you're not exactly at the finish line that you want to be at. Maybe you still have a little bit way to go, and that's totally cool. But acknowledge how far you've come. Acknowledge what you've done for yourself, because not everyone could do this, pile number 2. I feel like very many people could not do this, and you have brought yourself to this point, and you do deserve that clap on the back. You do deserve that acknowledgement and that round of applause that your guides are giving to you. They are so proud and amazed with you. So you need to start giving yourself that pat on the back, and not just getting it from your guides. They would give it to you physically if they could, but you can give it to yourself. Maybe throw yourself a little party, or, you know, open a bottle of champagne for yourself, or have a glass of wine, or whatever you want to do to celebrate. It doesn't have to be alcohol, obviously, but just some suggestions. But it's almost like you might want to do an actual physical event to just celebrate, you know, buy yourself a little cake, or I don't know, go out shopping, or whatever. I mean, work out, anything. You don't have to do something physical, but I feel like you kind of need to just take a moment, pause, and do something to acknowledge how far you've come. So I hope that resonates. Pile 2, let me know if it did in the comments. What did you accomplish? Were there changes within the last few years? I would love to hear from you. I would love to know what has shifted and what kind of energy you've stepped into, because it feels like you went through such a powerful change. So let me know down in the comments. I'm very curious. Also, make sure to give this reading a thumbs up, hit the like button, and make sure to subscribe, hit the little bell so you can find out when I post. And if you guys want to see more of my content, head to my Patreon, where I post all my additional readings. I just posted a reading all about how and when it's going to happen for you. So if there's some event you've been waiting for, manifestation you've been trying to make happen, or something you've been looking forward to or wondering about the timeline with, then you can find out all the details about that. We get into the timing. It is a long reading, over 3 hours long. So we get into how it's going to feel when it does happen, and lots of information about whatever this is, whatever event you are wondering about. So if you want to see that and get access to over 65 additional readings about every topic under the sun, love, career, relationships, spirituality, friends, family, relocation, everything, then you can go to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description for my Patreon. And if you want to get a private one-on-one reading with me, you can get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, and you can sign up for a half hour or a full hour-long session with me, have me pull tarot for you, read your astrology, channel for you, and you get to basically ask me about whatever you would like. So if you want to get that, go to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I am sending you so much love and light, and I'll be back again very soon with another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, pile 3, welcome to your reading. So if you guys picked this green macaron, this is going to be your reading. Maybe this is matcha flavored. It looks really delicious though. Let's get into your oracle cards. You guys got Spark, moonlight, and ghost lands. So there's a bit of a congratulations for you, as well as some encouraging you in the future, because some of you guys have some kind of amazing idea that I feel like you are thinking of starting. It could be creative in nature, could be that little creative spark that is really active in you right now, or it could be a new endeavor you want to go through in life, something you've been feeling called to do. And you have some really interesting cards you pulled. So let's start out talking about this Moonlight card. Moonlight card is a reminder to really listen to your intuition. Let's talk about the fact that intuition in tarot and in spirituality, astrology in general, is connected to the moon. It's a sign of Cancer, which rules over the high priestess in tarot, and in astrology is a highly psychic sign. So when you think about the moon though, right, you think about something that isn't quite purely developed. You can't see everything in the moonlight, right? Like you can see things clearly when it's in the sun. In the middle of the day, at high noon, you can see every line, every curve, every detail. And have you ever tried to walk outside purely by the light of the moon? Things are a little bit obscured. You can't fully make out the detail. If you put up your face really close to something, maybe you could make out the lines or whatever, but from a distance, it's hard to see. You can't see everything. And there's an element there of not getting to know every detail. And sometimes when we're trusting our intuition, it's really important to lean into that energy of accepting that we're not going to see everything. And this same message is actually echoed in Ghostlands, which is why I think it's so important and your guides want to really communicate it to you. Ghostlands also talks about how the past isn't fully as we remember, and by the same token, the future isn't fully plannable. So sometimes with these cards in combination, it's a really strong message that if there's something you've been feeling called to do, or there's something you want for your future, if there's something that's been kind of rattling around in your brain or you're feeling called to it, but you can't quite plan it out, you don't have all the details, you're kind of stressing about like, well, how is that going to happen? This is a really strong reminder to trust your intuition above everything. And I feel like your guides do want to congratulate you because lately you might be more in tuned to your intuition than you ever have been before. Maybe lately you've been really listening and you've got your antenna up. Maybe you've been meditating, doing yoga, or doing things to get in touch with that side of yourself instead of just, ignoring it or not listening or not paying attention. And your guides also want to give you that confirmation that in the future you should listen and you should trust that process and trust those little glimpses you get, because that's what's so special and amazing and draws you in about moonlight. I love moonlight. I love going for walks in the moonlight at after dark. I know it's not always the safest time to go for walks, but I just love it so much. And the thing about it is you can't see everything. Things are obscured. You won't be able to see things the way you would in broad daylight. But that's what makes it so special and so mysterious. And by the same token, that's one of the specialist things about planning your future or about not knowing how exactly everything is going to go. That's what makes life exciting, right? So being okay with living in that ambiguity at times, I feel like is something your guides are really encouraging for you. And they're really excited for you. What they're coming through as is congratulations, but this thing might not have even fully happened yet, but maybe you've got the glimpse of it. Maybe you've got the idea. Maybe you've gotten that nudge inside, and they're almost congratulating future you and pointing out the potential in this. Now, keep in mind, your future is never set in stone, so you could choose to embrace this and lean towards this project or this new endeavor, or you could choose to not do it, in which case that'll change the outcome. But I feel like they are saying that there's something inside of you that you're really wanting to start a new fresh beginning or a new, like I said, project or endeavor of some kind. It feels like you guys have been firing on all cylinders lately, and a lot of you guys have been very creatively plugged in. There's been a lot going on in your mind and in your heart, and a lot of you guys have been very inspired. And I feel like you really, really need to embrace this, not to run away from it, not to be, second guessing it, not to be dismissing it either, or be like, oh, well, whatever, I'm sure everyone has this. That's why I think, it can get tricky sometimes, because I will say sometimes in a private reading, it's always interesting to me where sometimes I'll be like, oh, so have you been thinking of doing this, or you're thinking of moving there? And the person will almost be very nonplussed about it. They'll be like, yeah, I have been. And I'm like, oh, well, you should, like your guide, that's a double confirmation. And it's almost like they already know it, so they're not surprised it comes up in the reading and they're very like chill about it. But I'm like, no, this is a big deal. You've been getting the download and then I'm getting the download. It's almost like your guides are screaming at you and they want you to do this. It's nothing to dismiss, it's nothing to kind of overlook, you know? So I feel like sometimes people know that there's something special, but then they don't act on it. You know, they know, they're like, oh yeah, I received that message. Yeah, I have been having dreams of this. Oh yeah, I was feeling called to do that. But then they don't take it as serious as they should. They don't realize that, like, yes, that is your guides talking to you. Yes, that is your higher self. That's your ancestors and your angels ushering you towards this new potentiality. And it's something to embrace. It's something to lean into wholeheartedly, not something to be like, well, whatever, kind of just, you know, blasé about. So yeah, I think for you guys, they are congratulating you and really proud of you in the future, especially as you begin this endeavor. I feel like if you've already started on it, they want to give you that knowledge that there's so much potential here and to keep going, to push yourself. If you're already in it, maybe some of you guys just need that little push of encouragement to keep going, not to give up. A lot of you guys may be, like I said, creatively gifted. There may be a creative spark inside of you, and this may be some kind of creative project, or it may be, I don't know, a move you're thinking of doing, a new lifestyle or a new life or a new job or whatever. But it feels like this is something that feels a little risky, something you're kind of nervous about, and something you go back and forth about, like, oh, should I do it? I don't know, I'm not sure. And like I said, I feel like you need to know that whenever we're guiding ourselves by our intuition, it's kind of like walking by pure moonlight. We're not going to get to see all the details. We're not going to be able to see it like fully out in the light and with, you know, everything shining down on it and getting to see every single little color and shade and detail. We're going to have to kind of trust that process, and it's going to unfold and start falling into place as we begin down that path, because the future is not actually set in stone. A lot of people think it is, and it's not. It's still changeable. We can still influence things, we can change our path. So as we walk, things will start taking place. As we begin to have the courage to take those steps, then things will start to, you know, come into fruition. But it's almost like we have to be brave enough as well to begin on that and to trust the process and to follow that intuition that isn't going to know everything that's happening. And it's just going to be that tiny little voice, that niggling feeling in the back of our mind, those recurrent thoughts or dreams or whatever. And just like I said, it's like traveling by moonlight or kind of fumbling around in the dark even at times, because sometimes with the moon it doesn't even come out, right? Like right now as I'm filming this, it's a waning moon, which means it's slowly disappearing every day, and eventually it will go into a new moon, which will be no moon in the sky, so you won't be able to see any moonlight at all. But the moon is still there, it's just hiding away, and even then you have to travel by intuition and by just trusting that. So yeah, I think for you guys, this is a reminder and some credit to you that you guys are open and you are very intuitive. You are very creative. You have a lot of these gifts. And maybe you just need to know that you are good enough to do this, that you do have a lot of potential here. And not to doubt or second guess yourself, but to realize how incredibly powerful you are, pile number 3. Because I feel like you guys kind of second guess, or you don't gas yourself up as much as you should. You don't give yourself that credit that you should. You kind of like play it down for yourself, you know, or you would tell yourself like, yeah, you did okay at that, but you wouldn't be like, you did freaking amazing, even when you did. So don't be afraid to give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back. And I feel like that's what your guides want to give you as well. And they want to push you forward with this and give you some forward momentum to keep going. Let's get into your tarot though. So we got the 6 of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles. This one is the 6 of Swords and the Three of Cups. So with the Six of Swords, like I said, this may be a new transition, a move, a different part of your life that you're stepping into, a new endeavor of some kind, or job or opportunity. And if there's fear there or reluctance, I feel like your guides are wanting to give you just the go ahead and to tell you, yes, you are ready for this. Step forward for it. I feel like some of you guys, it's almost like you keep yourselves in the shadows. You kind of, which could be another interpretation of moonlight. And now that I think about it, you know, it's kind of like not wanting to be fully seen. And I feel like for you, you really need to realize that what you have to offer is quite special, that you are someone who really offers so much to the world, and the world benefits from you being your highest version of yourself. Like if you think about your favorite author or YouTuber, I guess, or singer, or anyone who creates art or things that you really enjoy. And you think about if they had never done that, you know, if you think about what if they had like second guessed themselves. Like, you know, you hear a lot of stories from celebrities and they'll say, well, when I went to the first audition, like they told me I was horrible. Or when I released my first song, it completely flopped and no one liked it. And I had to keep pushing, you know. And imagine if they had listened. Imagine if they had allowed that self-doubt to win. And imagine how much worse the world would be. Like, you know, I mentioned on my channel Taylor Swift, and I think whether you like her or not, at least her music seems like high vibrational and not super depressing like a lot of music that's out, you know, today. It's kind of about the energy of love and that kind of a thing. So that, I feel like even if you don't like her, it's a net positive for society, right? To have music that kind of taps into the energy of love and soulmates and more positive, I guess, wholesome things. And so imagine if Taylor Swift had never released that. Imagine how much worse the world would be if she had just doubted herself and not released the first album. Or imagine, I mean, whatever your favorite band is, whatever your favorite director or writer is. I know for me, there's a writer like I was obsessed with, still am, but for years I was obsessed with her, and she's not even that well known. Like she doesn't, you know, she's not, if I said her name, no one would be like, oh, well, maybe some people would, but most people would have never heard of her. But to me, it's like she's famous in my eyes. You know, she's like this huge influence where I just think her writing is so good. And every time she would release a book, I would get so excited about it. And that's my point, is like sometimes you also never know the value of what you're doing and how that could affect others. You kind of have to go by blind faith. You kind of have to go and just trust that process. So maybe if some of you guys have already put some content out there in some way, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, I feel like you should know that maybe it really has inspired a lot of people and they have benefited from you doing it. Maybe some of you guys have gotten frustrated where you're like, oh, I don't feel like, you know, it's doing as well as I thought or whatever. But you should know that people really have benefited from it. People have enjoyed it. And I feel like you need to kind of give yourself that credit. And if this is the beginning and you haven't embarked on it yet, you should also know of how much potential there is for people to benefit, how much of a better place it might make the world to have you putting this out there. Yeah, I feel like sometimes you don't get to see the whole effect something has. You don't get to see the people who really love something, or someone who most people don't say, you know, like, oh my gosh, I love your fashion. It inspired me to go buy that outfit. They'll just go buy the outfit, you know, and they won't tell the person. Or most people won't, you know, phone up their best friend and be like, by the way, you have made my life so much better. Because it would be kind of weird if someone did that. So sometimes we don't get to know the full effect we've had on others. And I just feel like you need to know that you really have a lot of potential and such a special gift, pile 3. And if you've already started putting this out there, people have already benefited. And if you haven't done it yet, trust and believe that people will. So have that bravery and courage to do whatever this is, whether it's making a move, changing your job, whatever you're trying to think of doing. I just know that it is benefiting so many people. So we also got the 6 of Cups, which is interesting because this is a memory card, and Ghostlands also deals with not living too much in memory. So there may be a message for you about looking back and kind of thinking of your past, possibly overly romanticizing it or being sad or wistful. And it's interesting because also the moon rules over memory. So a lot of synchronicity in this reading. I love it. I feel like your guides are very active whenever they have like perfect cards echoing each other. I'm like, oh, the guides are on point with this. The guides are being hands-on. So yeah, maybe you've been living very much in your memory. And I think it's fine to have those memories. I'm a Cancer moon, so I definitely love my memories. But I think also it's worth definitely understanding that those are memories, and sometimes they're not fully accurate. Sometimes we can put on rose-colored glasses. I was just thinking of that song by Tame Impala that has come up a couple times in readings recently, Lost in Yesterday, where they say, when we were living in squalor, wasn't it heaven? And I think it's kind of the message of that song, or one of the themes, I guess, is about how sometimes you can put on those rose-colored glasses, and there is a beauty sometimes in kind of the come up, or in kind of like not having everything you want in the moment. But also, it's probably really easy to be like a super famous singer who has lots and lots of money to remember when you were living in squalor in like a tiny apartment, because now you have a mansion. And I bet if you actually had to go back to that time, it wouldn't necessarily be the same. It would be different. It would be slightly off. And there's a message that we can't go back to the past. I know for me, like, there's been times when I've traveled to an old place that I used to live, or a place that I had visited before, and I was like all excited. I'm thinking of one trip in particular where I was so excited to go back to this place. I was like, yes, oh my gosh, it's going to be so great, it's going to be so calm. And I feel like it was a true message from spirit, because it was almost like everything that could go wrong did go wrong, right? Like the first time I had visited, everything seemed just so aligned and perfect and kind of golden. Like everything just seemed to fall into place and just line up with my trip exactly how I wanted it to. And it just felt like everything was going my way and all the synchronicities were on point. And then the second time, it was kind of like the opposite. Like I felt like everything that could go wrong kind of did go wrong. And I think that was my message, because I was thinking that, yeah, I was in a moment of nostalgia. I was in a moment of living a little bit in memory and kind of putting on those rose colored glasses and thinking of like, everything was so perfect that time. It was so beautiful. And then to go back a second time and just realize like, oh, this place, yeah, that was pretty, but it doesn't quite look the same as I remember. You know what I mean? And then everything, like small mishaps that kind of annoy you. And then I realized that there's no perfect place. Yes, we can have beautiful memories of a place and it still is meaningful and it doesn't take away from that, but also knowing that kind of like we're creating those memories on a daily basis, and also just like the danger of thinking that there's one perfect panacea or place or thing that can change things, and realizing that the now we're in right now is just as important and just as special and matters just as much. So kind of like, yes, it's okay to be in your memories, and yes, it's okay to think about your past and hold it in a special place in your heart, and to be inspired by that and to love that, but also like the necessity of living in the moment, and the necessity of not dwelling overly on the past and thinking too much about this place was perfect or my life was so much easier, but to kind of stay focused on where we're at now, because unfortunately we can't go back to that. And I'm sure we all have had times when we try to go back. Sometimes I think I've heard stories where like someone who was like really successful in high school will literally try to go back to their high school and like re-enroll or something. And there's something so sad about that. We can recognize that as like, oh my God, that's pathetic. Get over it. Like you're not in high school anymore. But at the same time, we try to do that sometimes. Like even if we're not actually taking steps about it, we stay obsessed with like an old ex or an old crush, or we think a lot about an old friendship and like, I shouldn't have ruined that friendship. And yeah, like, I can't believe we got in an argument about blah, blah, blah. That was so stupid. Maybe I should text her. And I mean, we get along now, but it's not the same, but maybe I should call her. And, some of it is just like, I honestly think life is about being flexible and kind of going with the flow and not holding on to so much, not being so rooted to like, it has to look like that, but instead staying focused and allowing things to like fall off our life or add to our life, but not like carrying around all this baggage with us, because we all know people that are so obsessed with living in the past, and they maybe go to the exact same restaurant and hang out with the exact same people, and they never change, and they don't really seem to grow or advance that much. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think there's something so powerful about just living in the moment and accepting that if someone's in your life, they're there for a reason. And if they're not in our life, then they weren't supposed to be there. So with knowing that, we're not going to feel any regret or any bitterness about like, I can't believe I broke up with this person, or I can't believe that this job didn't work out, or I can't believe that I shouldn't have moved cities because that city I was in was a really great situation. Like I said, every time I've had those little rose-colored glasses on, and then I've tried to go back to that place and been like, when I lived blah, blah, blah at this place, it was so nice. And then something will happen and I'll be like, oh my God, is that some random crazy man walking around outside of my old apartment building that in my mind is so perfect? What is that guy doing? And it's like a random mishap will happen to shake me out of the moment and to remind me like, girl, you're not supposed to stay stuck here. You moved away from this place for a reason. And I'm sure that the reality of living there was not as perfect as I made it out in my mind, or reminiscing about, oh my gosh, my time at this school, it was so great. It was so awesome. And then, you go to that school and like, you go back to visit and you trip and fall on like some of the stones, or some of the college students that are like really rude to you as you go back to visit, or whatever the case may be. But my point is like, if it's not for you, if it's not active in your life, then it's not supposed to be there. So I hope I'm making sense. I feel like I'm kind of in a Pisces Mercury version of talking, if that makes sense, which it probably doesn't again. But I'm trying to say that it's really important and necessary, I think, to live rooted in the present moment, not to overly glamorize our past, and to realize that if it did fall out of your life, it fell out for a reason. There's no experiences that are also like so perfect we're supposed to just stay in them indefinitely. Keep in mind that we come to this earth as like a school to learn. And just like you graduate a certain class and then you move on, that's what our guides want for us. It would be pretty sad if you were just like, no, I love my third grade teacher. Like, Mrs. Jones is just so nice. She's so sweet. And I love my friends, and I really loved the curriculum. I just loved reading, learning to fully read, and just doing that entry level and starting to read like Nancy Drew books. So I'm just going to stay here in third grade. Yeah, I'm good here. I'll just stay in the back of the classroom. That'd be pretty sad, right? As much as it's bittersweet to graduate up the ranks and go to fourth grade and fifth grade, sixth grade, whatever, that's an important part of the process. And, maybe ninth grade is going to be especially amazing, and you'll never know that if you're not willing to graduate from third grade and you're so rooted in the past. So I really think a big thing in life is just being willing to be moving on, going on to the next, not being afraid, not being overly rooted in the past and glamorizing it. So this could also be a message for some of you guys if you're like living at home, or you're super in touch with your parents and you talk to them every single day, of like a necessity of kind of like moving forward in life and not staying too much in the past. Then I think you can take this reading as a confirmation that it's okay for you to spread your wings, and it's okay to be kind of ruthless too about like letting things end. And it doesn't take away from that experience, but maybe it welcomes you into a new experience. And I think the cool thing about life is that we aren't even fully capable of predicting how awesome something is going to be, how much it's going to mean to us. I'm sure we've all been surprised by like friends we've made that we met at a time that we never expected, or a relationship that meant a lot to us that again came as a total surprise, or I don't know, a class we took in school that we thought we were going to be kind of like mid about and ended up being freaking amazing. There's so many things we can't predict, and that's why it's important to be open and not to be rooted to your past, and to allow situations to unfold for us fully. Because as much as we may be thinking about like, oh my God, that part of my life was so great, you might have the literal best era of your life coming up for you like right away, and you're thinking of the past, or you're holding yourself back because of the past. So I think your guides want to just congratulate you and let you know that you have so much more going for you, and that if people did fall out of your life, or you're missing certain people, situations, things, or you've been thinking a lot about the past, that it's almost like you ain't seen nothing yet. I just heard that in my head. You ain't seen nothing yet. So just prepare yourself. It might get a lot better for you guys. And this is your message to think about your future, prepare for your future, and welcome in those new opportunities. Because with the Queen of Pentacles and the Three of Cups, some of you guys might have some really exciting social endeavors happening for you in the future. You might have some really fun and beautiful life events coming up, and you might have a lot of success as well. And I do think part of the journey of success is accepting those endings. So yeah, I think it's just like, if it didn't work out, it wasn't supposed to, is a big message for this pile. Let's get into some of these cards. What is pile number three's spirit guides proud of them for, happy about them for? Lay of the land, ancestral wisdom. Okay, let's get one more card from this deck. Vanishing mirror, ego sublimation. So with lay of the land, ancestral wisdom, again, I feel like you guys may be very psychic. You may be really listening very deeply to your guides. This would be an excellent time for pulling tarot, for pulling oracle cards, or for just listening to spirit, getting some guidance, meditating, that kind of a thing. I feel like your intuition is super on point. And if you have been already working on that, your guides may be complimenting you for the fact that you're very open to that. I also just got the message that for some of you guys, you are like an oracle for your family. You've done a lot for your family. And maybe for some of you guys in this pile, you feel a little bit of responsibility towards family members because of that. That may be keeping you glued to your family in a way that doesn't allow you to assume your full identity, to become your truest self. If you have been with a family that expects so much of you, or is kind of where you're like the rock for your family, and they say that to you like, oh, thanks, Bridget, without you, we couldn't do anything. But is that holding you back? Is that not allowing you to step into the fullest expression of yourself? That's why I always mention the sun is exalted in Aries. It's also in domicile in Leo. So maybe the two most self-centered signs, and that's where the sun is right at home. And the sun is so important when it comes to astrology. It's kind of like the overall soul and identity someone has. So it's really important that we really develop our own path in life. We really think about what's going to benefit us, and we don't necessarily overly sacrifice ourselves for everyone else. So, which is another moon Cancer type thing. So yeah, I think that they want you to know that, like, so many people around you as well, this might be an acknowledgement too. If you have done a lot for your family, it's like they just want to thank you and allow and give you some acknowledgement that you have broken some generational curses. Maybe some of you guys have really majorly taken steps to form a new identity, or to change how things used to be in the past for your family, or to be a little bit of a rock for siblings or for parents or whatever. And I feel like you should know that your guides, angels, ancestors have definitely noticed that, especially if you did, like I said, help out family members or even friends with that. But there's almost this image that some of you guys are really worried about what some of these people think. There's this message that some of you guys agonize a lot about, like, yeah, but I don't want to disappoint my parents, or I don't want to disappoint my friends, or I don't want my social circle to think I'm cringe. And I do feel like there's a message that that is holding you back. We got vanishing mirror, ego sublimation. So how much more powerful could you be if you kind of like destroyed this mirror? And to me, this mirror is a reflection, or an image, representation, I should say, of how we can get very obsessed with like how others perceive us. Like we could, maybe sometime we're like going out, we're going to go do something, and then we look in the mirror and we look a little disheveled, or our hair is kind of a mess, or maybe if you're a girl and you wear makeup, your eyeliner got kind of smudged, or maybe, it's even worse when you go out and you're going around town and like running errands and chatting with people or talking to people. And then you get back and you're like, oh my God, why did no one tell me that my eyeliner rubbed off on the upper part of my other, my eyelid, and now I look like a crazy person walking around with like this weird extra line of eyeliner, or your hair is askew, whatever the case may be. But my point is that we go from feeling pretty awesome, feeling pretty great, pretty bold, to suddenly like questioning, like, oh, I shouldn't have even gone out, or I'm not going anywhere. I look awful today. Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. And it's like, how much more free would you be if you didn't have that inner critic? If you didn't have that side of yourself that was like saying negative stuff to you, that was telling you that you don't look good enough, or that you look, that you need to fix this, that you need to change that, that you need to, maybe even for some people, it's like you need to lose weight or you need to gain weight or whatever. In order to look good, you need to have bigger this and you need to have smaller that and blah, blah, blah. And how much more free would you be to openly create, to openly be the best expression of yourself if you stopped worrying so much about what other people think? Because to be honest with you, it's none of their business. I guarantee you some people are going to really like you and some people are going to dislike you. And that's just part of life, right? Like I can think of some of my favorite musical artists, favorite bands, favorite celebrities, and they're almost all polarizing. You guys know I like Taylor Swift, and I actually didn't always like her that much. I probably sound like I'm obsessed with her. I'm not. I just mentioned her a lot in readings since everyone knows her, but I tend to like more polarizing public figures, and I really started liking her after the Reputation thing, after the 2016 little fight with Kanye and Kim when everyone hated her. That's when I was like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna have to start like being Team Taylor then, okay? Because I think it's the Aquarian in me. I hate when like everyone gangs up on someone or everyone comes to some stupid little mob conclusion. It just irritates me. So that's when I started liking her more. And I could go off about other people as well. One of my favorite bands is The Strokes, and I really loved them. And I really love the fact that like people really slated their second album especially and like said it was horrible, and now that second album is super acclaimed. And actually I think it was Pitchfork who had to go back and revise their ranking because originally they had rated them really low, and then they had to kind of like eat crow and be like, oh, by the way, we were completely wrong when we bashed them the first time. And that album, that when it came out, people were talking about how bad it was, is now super, super acclaimed and like incredibly acclaimed. And so that's my point, is like, some people aren't going to get you. They're not going to get you at the time you're released, or they might not ever get you. They might have a bone to pick with you that has nothing to do with you. But why would you ever let that hold you back from being your fullest expression? I know I feel the world is a better place because of Strokes albums and because of Taylor Swift and all the other artists I like that a lot of times may be polarizing. But the thing is if they had listened to those voices, if they had listened to the negativity or worried overly about like, oh God, but someone from my middle school is going to think I'm really cringe if I do this, then we would never have those amazing albums to listen to. And doing anything important in the world is going to take a little bit of cringe. It's going to take a moment when people are not knowing what you're doing and think that it's weird and think that you're a little bit of a weirdo. And that's okay. I think, to a certain extent, you have to just kind of like cut that part of yourself out. And when you find yourself falling into some rabbit hole of like, yeah, but what if they think this and what if they say that? And I mean, they're going to think it's so strange, just like not even listening. The people that are for you, I think you'll be amazed by how much they are for you. Because I know for me, like, I am the kind of person that if someone criticizes someone, I don't listen necessarily to like just initial instant like, oh, okay, so they must have done something wrong. I'm always like, what did they do? So what's happening there? And what was the actual thing they did wrong? And I make up my own mind. And there's plenty of people like that who are going to listen to their inner voice and are going to pay attention and aren't going to judge you right off the bat. And there's plenty of people who are also going to gravitate towards you, enjoy what you're putting out there just as much as maybe, yeah, some people won't like it. So I just feel like some of you guys need this message of like, stop worrying so much what other people think, whether this is about putting out some kind of art or project or whatever, or just being more authentic in your life and giving yourself that freedom of like, yeah, you're probably going to disappoint some people. Some people probably aren't going to like what you're doing. But look what you just got. Gates of triumph. Success expands in your life. Right next to the Queen of Pentacles. So there's a lot of potential here with this new part of your journey. We also got hold the course, staying focused. So I really feel like this is a forward-thinking message for you guys about really staying true to yourself, really staying true to your vision, really being unafraid to express yourself and all the potential that this has within it. So if you're thinking of a project or a new endeavor or a new business or whatever this is, I have no idea, or a move, whatever, that this really has a lot of potential within it. And also for you, with seeking out things that make you feel beautiful, make you feel good, and really living your life as authentically as possible, really living your life for you and not for the benefit of anyone else, not for anyone else's approval or understanding or them getting it, but with what makes you feel good. Because again, I do feel like this intuition has been pulling away at you, and your guides want to give you kudos because you are such a special person, pile 3. You guys have so much to offer the world. And I really feel like the more authentic and truthful you can be about yourself, the more the world is going to become a better place. The more all of us are going to benefit from whatever this is, because you have so much to offer. Pile 3, excuse me. You guys are so special. And I would hate to see this not get put out in the world because of some insecurities or because of other people's judgment or words. I think you need to really give yourself some compliments and some credit where it's due about how special you are and how much you're doing something really amazing. And there's so much more potential here for growth, for forward trajectory, and also for improvement and just getting better and better and people really loving you. So yeah, I think you need to hear that, pile number 3. I don't know, this was like a little bit of a strange one, but I felt like the messages were coming through super strong. So I hope it resonated. Let me know if it did in the comments. I would love to know if you have been thinking of launching something, or if you have been living in memory, any of the things we discussed. Let me know in the comments. Also, make sure to give this reading a thumbs up, hit the like button, and make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You can hit that little bell so you can find out as soon as I post next. And if you want to see more of my readings, head to my Patreon where I post all my additional readings. I just posted a reading all about how and when it's going to happen for you. So if there's an event you've been thinking of or wanting to happen, or just nervous about happening, any kind of event that maybe it's a manifestation and you're wondering, like, when's it going to happen and how is it going to happen? It's a really great one to watch for some clarity on that. And as soon as you sign up, you'll get access to over 65 additional readings. So readings about love, career, spirituality, relationships, money, family, friends, everything under the sun we discuss over there. So if you want to join us, head to that link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description for my Patreon. And if you want to get a private one-on-one reading with me, you can also get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, and you can sign up for a half hour or a full hour-long session with me, have me pull tarot for you, read your astrology, or channel for you. You can ask me pretty much whatever you want, and it's your time to use how you want. So you can go to my website, Briar Rose Tarot, and the link is in my description for that as well. So yeah, I hope to see you there. And that's about all I have to say, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again very soon with another reading. So take care, guys, and I'll see you then. Bye.